This is On the Porch, RVA, where every episode features observers discussing life. We agree and we disagree. So we invite you to take part as we discuss current events and no telling what else. Whether the conversation is bad drivers, politics, or even earthworms, everyone has an opinion and is welcome to express it. Life is an adventure to be shared and celebrated here on the porch.
Hello, and welcome to the Porch, RVA. I told you there was going to be a part 2 with this lovely lady, and here we are. I'm so excited to be back at it.
It is very fun.
I appreciate your willingness to
Always
come in and say, okay, where did we leave off? Where are we going? What are we doing?
Yep.
And isn't that how we do our day anyway? So this
My whole life.
this is kind of an unusual thing for being on the porch, because our outlook is kind of, we're just kind of chill, people sit on their porch and they just talk. And at the same time, you and I, we're coming into this with kind of a desire to get to the heart at something.
Right.
And so I'm not saying we're not chill. This is still the porch.
We're very chill.
This is still the porch.
I think we're chill.
But it's very close to my heart that I share what little platform that I've got for what you have burning.
Thank you.
And I'm not even sure where this is going to go, but there are some things that I have been seeing just from being an observer, because, we're all observers. And in the city of Richmond, we have all got to be a little more observant about what's going on,
Right.
Not just with the politics, not just with the businesses. And the children it is horribly cliched, but they are our future.
Right.
They are. And the children have been so let down. Not just the ones that are in school right now, but it's been ongoing.
Yes.
And I'm in my 60s. It's been a long time since I've been a student.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm 49. I had a birthday April 22nd. Shout out to all my Tauruses.
Yes.
But
yes.
So it's been a while for me too. I graduated in '94, and I graduated from Hermitage High School. I went to Brooklyn, Marchevet Elementary School, and to be honest,
You're a Richmonder.
I'm a Richmonder. I am.
Okay. And you told us last time about your kids being two different eras when it comes to
I moved to
the educational system.
I moved to Richmond in 2001, and I was in the South Side until my oldest child is 27, and she graduated from Thomas Jefferson in the IB program back in 2015. And now I have a 6-year-old, and my 6-year-old is at another school, elementary school here in Richmond, and that school is supposed to be one of the better schools. And so the neighborhood that I actually moved into was because of the schools that I understood previously, but how quickly things change based off of, an aging demographics and the people getting older, maybe not having children that go to school in that neighborhood, or in this neighborhood, their kids may be able to, them as parents might be able to afford private school. So that, or either they homeschool. So you'll see a lot of that.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. I've been trying to find out more about the difference between the homeschool and co-ops, where the mini schools, the pod school, and it's like there's so many different things that people are doing that I'm like, yay!
Right. I think that those options require you to have resources because it's not resource. Well, you also have to have the time. So one parent has to be able to stay home, but statistically speaking, a great deal of parents are single parent family households.
Don't have that option.
And don't have that option to stay at home, or if they do work remote, I'm still on my job, so trying to have that balance. You really do need to have resources and somebody who's dedicated to be able to do any of those types of programs, or even to take your kid to private school, because private school might not have after school, or you still have to have a certain amount of resources to be able to take up on one of those options.
And that takes determination too.
It really does. And I'm a single parent, but at the end of the day, I do actually have the resources. And I also have the flexibility at my job and the schedule. But my belief is that I pay my taxes. And that is something that the school system and the education system should be able to provide for my child and every other child that is being educated in our public school systems. And so for me, as a taxpaying citizen, it's a disgrace that a school that I pay taxes for, it's no different than if I drive on this private street, that the streets are holy. I pay you for that. So when I call you, I expect you to answer the call. But they would fill that pothole faster than they fix your education system. So that's a problem for me.
The voucher system, to me, sounds interesting. And it's worked well in a lot of places. The idea that the money follows the student and the parent gets to decide. And so then that puts it on the other foot, where then the school has to be scrambling for resources dependent on the parent instead of dependent on the city or the state or the feds. And I think it might be good for the school to have to be more interested in what the parent thinks.
But I don't know the whole background, because in Virginia, we had this whole celebration about choice, because it's called school choice. You actually have a choice. A lot of districts or, counties do it much better than Richmond. Apparently, from what I understand, and I don't want to quote him, but I did actually speak to Jonathan Young, and this was previous to his resignation, about it. And one of the things I said, well, why are we not talking about school choice? Where are our options? And I was specifically told by him, and I quote, that you would have to talk to my fellow council members because they voted against the city of Richmond having choice. And choice is delegated kind of based on how much money you make or whatever your financial situations were. And so maybe the lower end, but we don't have choice in the city of Richmond. I can't choose to take my child out of, what we do is have very limited where we could apply to go to out of district schools, but then you are responsible for getting that kid to that school.
Right. So right now, the way I understand it, you've got 2 or 3 schools in your general area that you choose from and you apply to real quick, and then if there's a slot there, then you get your first choice, and it's all based on your area. And so that's why I see a lot of people that talk about the education that your child gets shouldn't depend on your zip code. I see that a lot, and then when I was looking at how the vouchers work, and I don't know a whole lot about it, and I haven't had to experience it, but it sounds as if that dovetails what I hear called school choice
Right.
And I am wondering, because I know that in reading about the school choice movement, it sounded like it peaked around 2009
Right.
all over the country. And so I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Because it sounds...
I personally, as a parent, I could not 100% figure it out because I really did want to understand. I mean, as parents, we want to understand what are our options, what are our choices, especially when you're working with a child who has any type of unique needs. And that could be whether they're gifted or whether they are neurodivergent or... It doesn't matter. When your kids have special needs, you want to figure out what is the best education system or education for them, who can fulfill the needs of that child. To me, there should be resources in every school to be able to fulfill the needs of any child, but unfortunately, that is not what we have. What we have is a very broken system, and I do want to just say it isn't as if the counties are doing any better. The difference between the city of Richmond and the counties is that the counties have more land mass. And so they are able to break the lines up very differently, and so the numbers look different. It doesn't mean that they're doing any better. Okay, they have their own struggles. I do feel like I only can speak for Henrico because that's where I'm from and that's where my family still resides. So it appears that when I look at Henrico County, they have their struggles so far as dealing with ESL learning, as a second language. They have their problems in the influx there. They also have problems with retaining teachers. So this is a common denominator across the board. But the real issue we seem to think is the school board in the city of Richmond. They are a problem. Okay. Honestly, they all need to go, in my personal opinion. I wish that somebody brand new would come in with a whole new mindset because I don't know how they got trapped in this whole pendulum that's swinging, but it seems like they have a very old, dated concept. But therefore, our education is outdated. It's antiquated. And it's antiquated on purpose. Okay? And so when we look at our school system, we have to get real about what we're really looking at. We want to blame each other. We want to blame the children. We want to blame the parents. The teachers want to blame the parents and the children and the school board. And the school board blames everybody. But when I elect a leader, to me, my leader should not be arguing with me. You should be arguing up. You are the school board.
Yeah.
Why are you arguing with my teachers? Why are you arguing with my parents? Why are you not arguing with the real issue? And the real issue is the policies which come from the state. But is the state really the issue? Because where are their policies coming from?
And how are things being translated? And the more people you have involved in something, and the more committees you have involved in something, because a committee is just a way
Correct.
to avoid responsibility, where's the transparency?
And it's right there in our faces. Why would a governor decide on a curriculum? You're not an educator.
There's not one size fits all anyway.
Why are you in it? Then when you go up even further, who's in Congress making the decisions? Who's in those seats? We are so focused on the presidential election, we forget about the midterms.
Do we even...
The silence in the midterms.
I have to tell you, I can't even tell you who the school board is. And I'm ashamed to admit that.
You're
probably in the crowd.
if you watch it, it's so absurd.
I'm going to start watching it.
Oh, it's
I
absurd.
challenge you to start watching it too. I'm going to find links for how to watch, and I'm going to put them in the show notes.
Don't watch the last two.
Don't watch the last two.
I mean, I tried to go and listen and, share my opinion about how our schools are being taken care of, to support the teachers who had issues at Bouchau regarding the mold issues. And I'm like, wow, y'all are still fighting about the mold issues? Bouchau had mold issues when my kid was in middle school.
What?
That's why I didn't want to go
You're saying mole. You're saying like the little critter.
Not mold, but mold.
Mold. Oh, that's even worse.
It is even worse because
Oh.
that's the kids' asthma issues.
Yeah.
Causes kids not to come to school, teachers to
Yeah.
be out sick, to be more susceptible. And our school board acted as if they were in La La Land. You know, the fire issues. You had a whole school burn down.
Yeah.
What are you talking
And when
about?
I started hearing about the reasoning and all of the blame throwing, and I was astounded. That's when I really began to look at the fact that thinking that there were problems in our education system was not just opinion, and it wasn't just people who were looking to find fault. That there were real issues.
There are real issues for everyone. But for me, more importantly, the system would take a whole overhaul, and I understand that what would be required is a huge undertaking. But my question is, who do you value for the undertaking? Because we are in a global economy, and our children, our future of this country is residing on children who are miseducated, undereducated, who can't even get along in the same room. And if a parent at our kitchen table can find the information about how to improve our school system, then y'all know what it is. You're smart people. They know what it is. But why wouldn't they want? We have to ask better questions. Why would they not want?
I think that's very true, and I think that we cannot overlook how many people are impacted. It isn't just these kids that are being let down. It isn't just that they are our future, but as you say, the economic impact, the economic impact for the kids who we hope will one day be able to fend for themselves and be able to put groceries on their tables. I mean,
our country.
We have to hope. We have to hope. And I'm thinking of small business owners. I'm in a position on my day job where I talk to employers a lot. And there was an employer, not in the city of Richmond, but here in Virginia, who was telling me that he had hired a kid to be a driver, and he loaded they make furniture. It was a small homemade furniture, handmade furniture. I can't even remember. It seems like it might have been south of Roanoke or someplace. But he was telling me that he had this kid come in. He was very personable. He was on the ball. He looked like he was going to be perfect. Loaded up the truck to make deliveries, drove around the block and came back and asked him what language the manifest was written in. It was cursive. He could not read the cursive to see where to deliver the furniture.
Because they're not teaching it. They're not teaching it.
And the two brothers that owned the furniture thing, I mean, they were in their 50s and 60s, and it never even occurred to them that they might need to start printing, because they weren't even using a computer.
Oh, man. What language is it?
A clash of civilizations.
They say they don't believe that they will need it. So you don't want them to know the foundation of things.
Wow.
So you're not going to teach Roman numerals anymore?
Wow.
So what else are they going to decide to remove from your children's education system and say that they're not going to need it? Because what are you basing your speculation on, that artificial intelligence is going to take over? Well, artificial intelligence has been here since 1954.
We hope that they don't take over.
It can never take over because it still needs a person behind it to gear its creativity.
I'm going to hold you to that.
It's not going to take over. It's not going to take over. It will never be a Terminator.
I listen to producer Tonia talk about how everything is Skynet, so.
Well, yeah. Everything is pretty much. But guess what? I hate to let you know, it's been Skynet.
Yeah. So come on, kids. We need our kids to be able to use all of their brains and have all of their tools and all of their resources.
You want them to be able to reason.
Yeah.
You want them to be able to connect. You know, and so what are we doing? But it's just like our government and our food. And look how poor our food has gotten.
That's a whole other episode, girl.
It's a whole nother episode. But it's if you look at it, it's just like our healthcare.
Yeah.
It's just like the food industry. It's
And we
just
were
like
talking earlier, let me just slip this in here. Dr. Avery Jackson III, the name of his book is The God Prescription. The God Prescription. And we were looking at this podcast, and it was healthcare and sick care. So, just dropping that there for you.
Just drop it right on there. It is interesting. I wonder, people who drop books like that, you know, and it starts to really pick up, like Kevin Trudeau and his book, and just how quickly, when people start telling the truth, all of a sudden they find things to remove them.
Cracked open.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
And so we have to be vigilant on and ask much better questions about why would they want it this way. Well, for me, in my mind, this is just my personal opinion, the education system is that way is because slavery in America never ended. And all that has happened is we went from an industrial age to what I consider an information age, technology. But somebody has to always remain at the bottom. Somebody has to play their position. And education was created so that, you know, when people went off to war, they could read basic things and follow what the government tells them to do. That's why we have the Pledge of Allegiance, because we want to make sure you're dedicated to country. So you don't have to think. Let us do the thinking for you. They do not want your children to think.
Otherwise, they might be teaching how to start small businesses. Starting a small business might be easier if that was actually part of the goal.
It's not the goal. Everybody can't own their own business. Everybody else can't be wealthy, because if we're all wealthy, then who's going to run the companies? Who is going to run my company? But there's a position that everybody gets to play, you know, and everybody has to be in their positions. And so the masses, this is for the masses.
They're really increasing the ratio of masses and mass manipulator.
Explain.
Well, I mean, I always thought of the people who did the work, blue collar, okay, didn't own the business, but we're doing okay, you know, working in the factory, managing. And when I think of the ratio of, okay, you might have 10, 20 people that were what you would consider managers. If you just took all of the industry, all of the jobs, and you just lumped them into their categories, regardless of what their job was, regardless of what the business was, and then there was this percentage of, you have this many people who were directing how things worked, and then this many people who just went to work, did their thing, and then went home. And it seems to me like they're interested in having a fewer number of people give direction and a higher number of people taking direction. And it reminds me of when I was in the military and they did the drawdown, and they were having fewer people who were making higher rank. You'd get to E4 and you'd get stuck. And I'd ask questions. Well, how come we're lowering the number of E5 slots that we have available? And I was told that there's this philosophy that they'll get more done if they have fewer people of higher rank and more people of lower rank. And I think, well, if that's a workable philosophy for you, I can see how you would translate that to a
We need
larger
more worker
systems.
bees.
Yeah.
I mean, fair. Or either you can call it a caste system and what it really is. Because I think that we are confused that this is all about race or religion or sexuality or what sex you are.
Yeah.
That's the ruse.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with
nothing to do with
how
that.
you look.
This is all about class and a caste system and who is who. And it's very important. And so if in fact SOLs, your standard of learning, was a successful model.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Did you really?
I really did.
That's scary. I feel like somebody's gonna be like, cut that off. Don't go there. Don't do it.
No, I really did, because I would hear conversations that SOLs are the problem and we've got to get rid of them, and then I'd hear another just as strident group say, no, SOLs are they're what's going to fix everything. And I say, wait a minute, I don't see either of those as being completely right.
I don't think any of them are right, because the top three, even if you look at the top 5 countries that rank the highest on educating public education systems, you got what? Finland, Thailand, not Thailand, I forget. I know Finland is number 1. Japan, I can't remember what the other 3 were. It's definitely not Thailand for real, I don't think. Anyway, let's just say those 2. Finland for sure. When you look at the top 3, just the top 3, when you look at them, you can literally see the difference between the American system and their system. I actually cross-referenced all 5 of them. I don't remember them. I should remember them. I'll give it to you. You can put in show notes. Because I do have it written down. I'm horrible with this. But one of the things I noted is that they do not have standardized testing. None of the top 5. They do not have standardized testing. Japan concentrates on math and science, but a good deal of it in lower education concentrates on camaraderie, team building, emotional intelligence, because you have to have a community that knows how to work together and build together. Right. If, in fact, that is the case, they know that's the case. They know that really our K through probably about 3rd grade really should be focused on how to build together,
how to meet a goal, and then get the goal,
and emotional intelligence, how to regulate yourself. They're too young. They even have a study out that hand-eye dexterity, when they start writing, they're too young at 4 and 5 and 6 years old. They cannot hold a pencil. They do not have the hand dexterity to actually write, and they're actually starting them off too early. It has been noted that, honestly, your kids do not need to really even start to know how to learn to read until 6, 7 years old. Finland starts them out at 7, and they're number 1. So if I can find the information, they can too. You know what works. If you want to decrease the violence in our communities, how do you do that? You could really teach it in elementary school at the lower grades. Teach that foundation. Start them with the foundation. Start them with nurturing and loving school before you indoctrinate them into testing, into hard things that stress them out and collapse their nervous system. Why wouldn't you do that?
It seems as if there's this this idea that having people be a nervous wreck makes them care more, and it's just the opposite.
It does not. And then the microaggressions from the teachers, that do not know how to manage the behavioral issues that they're seeing from children who are coming out of COVID, or even children that have special needs. Very gifted kids will act out because they're incredibly bored. I have a child that's very gifted, and he is all over the map. He has ADHD, but it doesn't change the fact that he's incredibly gifted.
Right.
And the teacher can only focus on the behavior. She can't even adapt herself to understand that, what else is going on? Because they don't even think for themselves.
Right.
They don't have that creative flexibility because of the SOLs to even educate or manage their classrooms. That is the other thing that I found in these other countries, is that teachers are allowed to create and have flexibility in the curriculum as well. That was the other thing. And also they put their teachers at a higher standard of respect. So if you have a master's degree, you're going to get paid like you have a master's degree. So nobody that has a master's degree is making $60,000. Well, they are probably somewhere. That's not the point. But for the good majority, if you have a master's degree, it's interesting. The social sciences part of it, social workers and are considered, they have master's degrees and really high level education and aren't paid to what their standard of education.
Right.
And they're treated that way, like they're throwaways, and that's what they do to our teachers. when the most important people you have in your community are the teachers and the social workers, are the ones that help us with our mental and social skills to help build us up. So why would they not want to? Because they use us as political pawns, and it starts from the top. It actually starts in Congress in the seats.
Yeah, yeah. No, I can definitely.
It is a big sign. It's a lot.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. What book were you reading when I texted you this morning?
That is a big question. Because, and you know what? For some reason, I knew you were going to ask me this question. I said, she's going to ask me about a book. But I went the other way. What book would the first question you asked me. I should have remembered it. I'm so disappointed I don't remember it. Because I actually got, on my soccer team, I actually work with 2 police officers who coach with me, and they're from City. He's got a mom who is one of the police officers. He's got a mom who's 86 years old, and me and her were talking. We're talking this political stuff. I mean, it was deep. It was weedy. It was seedy. I mean, we were like really to the left. Oh, it was amazing. And I love talking to older people about stuff like that.
You never know what you're going to get.
You never know. And I mean, our kids are missing such an opportunity to be with our elders. You know, I wish they would be in the classrooms so much more. Life would be great. But anyway.
Yeah, I have ideas on that.
She had, those are the ideas we need to come to the table. But anyway, she had a book that she had ordered on special order. She had to get from some special place. And she wanted me to read it. No, I don't remember. And I had started reading that book. And the book is about what if America experienced the war that they're having in Palestine, which is very possible. It can happen. And so he's using it from a it's not fiction. It is a nonfiction book, and he's just using the information that he's gotten from the people that he that have and what they're doing inside of America and our soft border and who's actually coming through the borders.
You're gonna have to share that with me.
That book, I'm only 3 chapters in.
Notes. Just telling you.
I will link. That's. You ever read a book and then when you read it, you're like, I don't know if I should know this. I'm like, ooh, this is really.
Yes, I try not to get those too often. But
not too often, but it is. Third chapter.
And you are providing an example for the people around you of the joy and the frustration of having an active mind. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you. And I want to thank you guys, for having dropped in. I'll warn you if we decide to do a part 3.
It's so easy to talk to you, and you just ask me all the things that I want to talk about. And it's, so many times.
We have to have a curiosity. That is the thing that, if there's anybody that doesn't want you to know what you need to know, if there's anybody that wants you to not do what you need to do, that entity is also going to want you to not be curious and not have joy. And on behalf of anybody who's ever sat on the porch, I'm going to tell you, get out there, learn some stuff, have some fun, have some joy, have some curiosity.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye. And thank you.
That was fun.
On the Porch RVA is produced and directed by John Hundley. Your host is Tracy Hundley. Join our community on Facebook and Instagram. Email us at tomatlh@outlook.com. Visit us at www.tomastudiosrva.com. Video of these episodes are on YouTube and Rumble. On the Porch is a 2024 T.O.M.A Studios production.